All of your tests have been completed to get your death date. Are you ready for your results?
Oh my God, I'm gonna die.
It's okay. What does it say?
21,490.
Nicole, that's almost 60 years from now.
What does yours say, babe?
345.
Days?
That is not ideal.
My ex-fiance dropped me like a hot potato.
Nicole's body was really hot. I'd love to do her, but, I wouldn't because of you, unless you could have watched. Some people are into that. Weirdos.
Me and the boys heading to the strip club tonight. There's women everywhere. I'm just saying.
Do I start dating again? I'm Mortimer. I am a mortician. You know what, Mr. Addison? That is not your shade.
Do you wanna film?
Imagine.
Hey, do you wanna get out of here?
I've never had sex with a prostitute before.
Professional escort.
Sorry, with a professional escort. Rita?
You're dead!
I didn't do anything to her.
Well, you still owe me for Rita's services.
She said it was free.
I ain't handed out free samples. This ain't Trader Joe's.
I just joined this dating service that matches you with people based on death dates.
I'll be doing your video interview.
Lasers.
So what kind of gal are you looking for?
Kind, honest, a little bit boring, maybe. You're gonna die soon? I'm gonna die soon. Let's go on a date.
I'd love to hang out with you again.
It's gonna be okay, I promise.
It's not like I have much time to build a future with someone.
So where's my money, man? Got it?
5,000?
Don't make me use it.
Go on then. I don't even care. I'm gonna die anyway.
You better have my money in full by midnight tomorrow.
Or he's going to hurt me.
Just wish I met you sooner.
Better late than never.
I've just been so angry, afraid, happy, all at the same time.
Have a seat, Mortimer.
Relax. When you and Nicole were dating, did you guys ever try pegging? Pegging? What is that?
Pegging's when a girl puts on a dildo and bangs.
I'm Simi Kaur, and I have with me today the brilliant director and writer, Daniel Andre. How are you today?
I'm very good. How you doing?
Good, good. Thank you for joining me. I truly appreciate it. I know you're...
Thanks for having me.
No worries, no worries. So I just wanted to launch right into it. So as the fans just saw, it was a trailer for Running on Empty, which is a comedy, quirky romance movie. It's being released on August 9th. How did you come up with the concept?
So the concept kind of came from a multitude of different places I've sort of found in reflecting back. Initially, I think it was a couple years before I started writing the script, I ran into, on a random Google wormhole search, I found what they call extreme funerals. And in the film, I actually call them adventure funerals. And it's a real thing. They put their deceased loved one on like their favorite motorcycle or doing something like that. And then, that just also made me think of sort of the broader idea of death, and especially in America and our society, and how sort of taboo it is, yet it's so prevalent. It's everywhere. And it's something that we're all going to have to deal with personally or first-handedly at some point. So it was always the subject that kind of fascinated me. And, I also remember going to my grandfather's funeral when I was 10 years old, and, going to the wake and, kind of it was a bit traumatizing. And so for as taboo and hidden as it is from us, when we do put it out there, we still put it out there in a kind of messed up way. And it's funny. I think some people might see the adventure funeral thing and think like, oh, that's creepy or weird. But like, if you look at real funerals, they're pretty creepy and weird.
Did you have an idea going into it that I want certain amount of scenes with those things? Because like you said, it is a taboo subject. A lot of people don't like talking about it. I'm from a culture where we never talk about funerals, or beforehand because it's considered superstitious, right? So you talk about it, it's alive right away in the sense. So how do you go about tackling something like that, where it's like okay, yes, it's a movie, it's comedy, but we also have to touch up on subjects like.
Yeah, I think it's weird, kind of like trying to do a post-mortem, no pun intended, on the film and kind of how it happened, and structurally it's strange. I think a lot of that just kind of happened intuitively. And not to say that intuitively means easy. I mean, I think it's through years of like everything I've done in my life, from acting to music, to producing, has sort of all like led up to this level. The stuff when I worked on IMAX movies, that was really just a good boot camp for watching studio movies and studio structure over and over. And, it's kind of, they say that before you can really break any rules, you have to first know the rules. And so I think kind of unconsciously that was a huge help with finding that balance.
Mm. So now you talked about you have an acting background and you've done other stuff. Now I noticed that you have done digital rendering. How do you go from digital rendering to directing? What was the transition like for you?
Sure. Well, I think it was I don't know if it was really as much of a transition. So I kind of I always knew I wanted to make films, like since I was a kid. I wanted to act first, and I started acting when I was 5. And then when I was 10, we got a video camera, and I started making my own movies. And I got all of these old VCRs from the house and some old TVs, and I literally had a little editing setup in my room. So this is something I always knew I wanted to do. And then I got sidetracked. I worked in music and DJing for years in New York. But I always knew that I would come back to filmmaking. And so sort of the whole purpose of moving to LA, and before I moved here, was sort of getting a background in post-production. And that was simply just so I didn't have to wait tables or be a barista, while I was trying to get my films made. And so I think by the time that I kind of went through that boot camp and I felt like, wow, okay, I've learned enough, I'm ready to just focus, I left post-production, and just that was when I said, okay, now's the time to come up with your film, to write it, and then to make it.
What kind of advice would you give to, young people who are looking to get into writing and producing? And like, what is the first step? What kind of advice would you give?
Yeah. I don't know if there's any real first step. It's funny. It's like making movies. Like no two movies ever happen the same way or get made the same way. And I feel like for artists, it's very similar. It's all very dependent on so many things, our personalities, other people's personalities, our approach to things. But I guess one of the big things that I've learned over the last 12 something years of being back in LA was I needed to understand and to figure out it's not about me, or I can't make it all about me. Meaning that, say if you want to be a director or you want to be a filmmaker or whatever, you write your script. And then, the first thing you want to do, which I was there too, is like, you want to find someone to help you make your film. And so you run around town going like, you want to help me make it? It's a really cool script. You should read it. Well, the thing is, it's hard making films. It's one of the hardest things out there. And the reason it's hard is because there's a lot of problems that come along with making a film. So when you run around and you say like, hey, you want to help me make my film? You're essentially saying, do you want my problems? Do you want my problems? Do you want my problems? And that's not very appealing to people. And so what you need to do is, for me, I need to take myself out of the equation and say, okay, well, what would make somebody want to help me make this film, right? And so just say with actors, at the very core thing, that's going to be your story and your characters. So, to be cognizant of that while you're writing or creating something, because you want to give an actor a reason to want to play this part. So that's what's in it for them. So you have to take yourself out and figure out what's in it for them. What's in it for an actor? What's in it for a producer? What's in it for a film company to want to help me make this? They're not going to want to just help you so you can, accomplish your bucket list dream or whatever it is. You need to think about essentially everybody else except yourself first. And I think and it's hard because me as an artist, I know full-handedly how, at times self-absorbed we can be, or so into our own thing. And it might be all about us at the time. And the trick is to kind of change your thinking on that and to be much more aware that, they say it takes a village. So you need to figure out, why would a village want to help me?
Yeah. And speaking of a village, I'm going to launch right into the casting. I mean, the casting is very impressive. It's very diverse, from different projects before, and to see them all come together for this. How hard was it to choose, the right actors to play the right characters, so that way you can get the full essence of what you want to portray.
Yeah. So I kind of give that credit to the movie gods. And I find that's kind of what they're there for. Like, I think it just kind of happened the way it's supposed to happen. And again, it was kind of taking, they say, what is it? Expectations or resentments in the making. Right. And so one of the worst things I think I could have done, and I went down this path a little bit, is you get your heart set on an actor, and then for some reason they're either not available, you can't afford them, or they just got nominated for something and, they're not going to do your film. And so after kind of understanding that, I tried to not get set on anything and to be open to whatever is brought my way or brought towards the film's way. And I think once that I let go of those expectations or certain, it's like I want Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise in my movie, and if not, then once you set that standard in your head, you're never going to be happy with anyone else that you cast. And so what's funny is doing it that way in going through that process now makes me watch the film and look at it, and I can't imagine anyone else playing any of those other roles. And again, it's because, I allowed myself to trust the process. I couldn't be happier.
I also wanted to ask, I know you mentioned that you started acting when you were young, when you were 5. Can we expect to see you on camera, in front of the camera, let's say, anytime soon?
Possibly. Just have to kind of tune in and see. But yeah, it's something... it's something that I've always done, and it's kind of like with film, with music, I sort of dip in and out every so often. And in an old agent and an acting teacher of mine used to say, because I would come back and I would work with her every so often, every few years, just because I wanted to flex that creative muscle and kind of see where it's at, and I didn't necessarily want to go back to acting. But what she told me is that it's always there. It's always there. And that's how I feel about really any of the mediums that I've explored already as an artist. It's always there. It's just, it's when it's the right time, and when you find the other people who also think it's the right time. Yeah. So yeah. I'm sure I'll make it there sooner than later.
Yeah. I just have one more important question, because you were raised in New Jersey, so I got to ask you this. I'm from New Jersey. Yeah. I have to ask this.
Okay.
Ham or pork roll? Which is it?
I'm vegan, so neither.
Oh, okay. We're in the middle. All right, we'll take it. We'll take.
Yeah. But I'm sure they're gonna make vegan ones soon, so
listen,
I'll have to try them, and I'll let you know.
I heard there are some places in North Jersey that have it, so we might have to check.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Daniel, I wanted to thank you for taking your time. I truly appreciate it. Everyone, check out Renting for Empty. It's being released on August 9th, and thank you so much again.